guys, it's Vaughn and welcome back to another episode of Housework. Y'all, this is my first housework video of 2022, but y'all know how home renovation projects are. They kind of come and go. There's times where projects will be accelerated. There's times where things will slow down a bit. I finished a lot of the big projects that I wanted to do, so we didn't have any content really for this segment on my channel, but I am working on a super big project, and that is the makeover for my daughter's bedroom. This room really needed it. We did some refurbishing. We pretty much repurposed all of her furniture pieces that were in here. We also added some furniture pieces to the space. We did some DIY painting, crown molding, completely revamped the space. It looks like a totally different room now. I'm gonna be covering everything that we did in here from start to finish. I'm gonna be telling you guys where I got everything. And of course, if you missed something, it's all gonna be listed in the description box. If you are into DIY home projects and love seeing processes from start to finish, then this is the video for you. All right, let's get into it. Alrighty, this is my daughter Anne's current bedroom, and there's a lot of stuff in here that I am annoyed with and that we've sort of outgrown. First things first, the color palette. It's a little dull for our newfound tastes, okay? This vent cover, you know, this olive color, I don't really like it. We need to get rid of that. I am actually really sick of her curtains. I think we need to add some blinds to really soften the windows. I do want to ditch the black curtain rod because it's a little harsh, and I feel like this room deserves some crown molding. She's also destroyed a lot of her furniture pieces just from being curious and trying to be an acrobat, and there was kind of a phase we were going through, which I think we're away from now, so I really want to pull those drawers out completely and replace them with storage baskets. I certainly don't regret what we did in here design wise because it was all part of a process and it worked until it didn't. For day one of this project, I am jumping in head first to break the ice. What I've done here is pretty much stripped the room down. I've taken everything off the walls. Not only are we beautifying this space, we're also updating it. So I had found this old phone jack in the wall that we are obviously not using, so I snatched that out and I need to patch that up. As for the crown molding, I'm going to go ahead and take those measurements and just put them in my back pocket for later. But since I am going to Home Depot today to look at paint, I'm going to also take a look at some of the crown molding options so that when the time is right, we'll be ready to make the selection a lot easier. So me and Annie Boo went straight to Home Depot in the paint department. So many different options for just a basic turquoise. I don't know why I thought it would be anything different. After a few minutes of consideration and looking over all the colors, I finally found something that I thought would work, and I went with a semi-gloss enamel finish, which I thought would be really flattering for a bed frame, and then I chose the Scuff Defense Behr Ultra. While I was at Home Depot, I went ahead and got the blinds for this room, y'all. These are the Home Depot Decorators Collection premium blinds, y'all. So easy to put up. This took me like 15 minutes, so I just went ahead and popped those up so we could move on. Day two starts off with lots of excitement, you know what I mean? Even though I don't know what I'm doing, we're gonna go ahead and see what we can see. This is actually my first time painting furniture, but I'm like, how hard can it be? Well, it's safe to say I found out just how hard it can be. No, not extremely difficult, but you definitely have to take your time and be careful. So what you see here is me laying down drop cloths, because one thing I know about paint, you don't mess up. I think probably rule number one with DIY paint projects is to humble yourself to the process, understand that mistakes will happen. So I'm just thinking about all the drip marks that can possibly occur, and I'm just trying to protect the floor. And Sansa Girl here didn't have any confidence in my painting skills. And here's the color. Okay, it's Mystic Turquoise, a really beautiful, rich teal color. And I'm obviously really excited about that first paint stroke. It's really going to help me understand the coverage. I was really worried about covering up that dark existing finish with the little whitewash on there, but honey, it actually went on pretty good. I think this is a one coat paint, or you could get away with one coat, but we are definitely gonna do two. Now, by this being my first time painting furniture, I do think it'll be helpful to share some first time painting takeaways. Now, with painting wood, you wanna try to get inside every one of those little wood grain grooves. That's gonna help it not look like an amateur paint job, and in order to do that, you're gonna have to be open to constantly going over the same spot a few different times. And you're gonna wanna get inside every little crevice, every little corner, every little fold, because it's going to be really annoying to have had something painted for like a week and then finally notice that you missed a spot. Another thing that I noticed that could be important is getting those paint drips and the areas where the paint may have collected or pooled. I don't know the technical term for that, but I have a quick fix, right? A little piece of that paper that I had on the floor, I'm just gonna fold it and swipe it right on in there. That's gonna get all that excess paint out of there and make it look less amateur. It's an extra detail, but it's quick and easy, and I think worth it. Also using the right paint brushes. This one is specifically designed for rough surfaces, for lots of grooves and things, so I feel like it made my life a lot easier, even though my arm was hurting from all the back and forth strokes. But hey, we got it done, didn't we? Yes, a small roller would have been easier, but I don't think it would have been as effective for all of that texture. But hey, you could always try it, you never know. I will say with this brush though, I felt like I had a lot more control over the distribution of paint. You definitely give yourself a little more artistic freedom with like fixing flaws in the paint finish and things like that. So here's how it looked after the first coat was done, and this is how it looked after the second coat. Not much difference. If I'm being honest though, after I painted this bed frame, my confidence took a dive. Why? Because I'm not a vibrant color type of person, and you know, while I thought I had everything all figured out, after seeing all that color, it kind of overwhelmed me. And when that happens, I go blank. I had all this inspiration. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna base it off these things I see in Anne's room, these different colors, you know, it'll be easy. But it wasn't, right? And I feel like I had all these good ideas, but they were just like floating in space, like in my head all over the place. And Sansa Girl was just making it worse. So here's what I did, y'all. I'm a visual person, and I don't know why I've never done this before, but I had to lay it all out. So I hopped on Photoshop because I am very comfortable with that program, and basically built a visual of all the concepts that were living in my head. So I found this pattern online for a mural, which I copied twice to make it fit this larger scale. And then I just plugged in all the pieces that I had already purchased to make sure that they'd look good together. And then I just played with, you know, different curtain and rug options to see which ones I liked best. And y'all, this guided my purchases. With the help from my sis and some feedback from Anthony, I eventually settled on this swirl rug and this kind of mauvey pink curtain set. And y'all, this stuff was pulled directly from the websites I was shopping on. I did the same thing for the opposite view of her room to make sure I knew what I was doing with that dresser. So this is how I got my confidence back, and I also had my marching orders. So now I'm starting day 3 with a high confidence score, and I'm starting it off doing something that I don't need no help with, and that's assembling and building stuff, y'all. This is definitely my comfort zone right here. And it's not that I'm good at it or anything, like I don't claim to be a carpenter or nothing like that. I think it's just more about like my willingness to do it. Like I'll take the time to get it right and get it done, and I won't stop until I'm finished. And this stuff be coming with instructions, and I think I'm good at following instructions, or at least I think I am. Oh my god, I hope I did this right. No, but the really cool thing about woodwork projects is that, you know, after spending so much time in and out of the hardware store getting this stuff done, I'm realizing there's nothing that cannot be fixed, especially with wood. If you make a mistake, you can go to Home Depot or somebody and there's a fix, or there's a spare part somewhere, you know. Oh, I wanted to share this funny thing, y'all. It's so funny how they illustrate how they want you to flip the thing over. But yeah, y'all, so I was talking to my dad recently about like why I'm like this, and he said it has nothing to do with gender and more about how people were born. He believes people have an inclination for mechanics, and you're either born with it or you're not, and environment dictates the outcome. And he believes that me and my sister Michi were born like this. Just a little fun fact as we go into day 4, and I'm back in the bedroom. I just finished building that second 3-drawer chest, which is an IKEA product called Tarva, and I think it turned out pretty darn good. It was really easy to put together. I later painted these chests a color called Sunny Side Up by Behr. So on to the refurbishing project. So remember that chest of drawers where the 2 bottom drawers were completely destroyed? Where I'm going to mosey on over to Home Depot and buy a piece of 2x4 birch plywood and have them cut it to my specific dimensions. Now Home Depot, bless their hearts, they can handle like straight up and down cuts, but they won't do any like fancy angles. So with this, I knew I had to doctor this wood up before I could use it. So the cuts are going to be very rough. So this is the area where the wood slabs are going to go. I'm just going to remove those drawer hardware pieces, and that's going to open this up a bit more and allow me to slide those wood slabs right in there. As you can see, it fit perfectly. Thanks, Home Depot. Once I checked that the fit was a-okay, I'm going to go ahead and start working on sanding those edges. What I really want is just to soften them a little bit. That's pretty much it. You're not really going to see it very much, but I don't want it to be rough when I'm sliding those baskets in and out of there. And shout out to Dyson. This is my V12 vacuum for helping me clean as I go. While I was at Home Depot, I picked up these wood screws, and I'm just going to attach the plywood to the dresser unit. I'm literally just creating a platform for baskets to slide in and out. Honestly, if you were a skilled carpenter, you would be able to clean this area up a lot more, make this crevice like fully finished. I am doing the bare minimum. I did 6 screws to just ensure that this thing won't be sliding all around in here, and I think it's good. Next, I'm reaching for my all-purpose wood filler, and that's going to fill in those holes left behind from the drawer hardware, even out the screw indentions, and cover those scratches. That's what's going going to give us that finished restoration vibe. And this stuff goes on pink because it has the dry indicator, and it will turn a natural wood color when it's dry and ready to be sanded. Another first alert, okay, first time using wood filler, but I am impressed, y'all. Like, this was so easy. It wasn't hard work at all. It was an added, you know, extra step, but I feel like covering up those holes, you know, I'm not going to regret it later when I'm painting this thing, you know, and I'm putting those baskets down there. I feel like I will really appreciate having this kind of clean look. Just using my little fine sanding block to go ahead and finish it off. All right, now we're ready to paint, y'all. So let's get this drawer hardware off of here. I'm going to keep these drawer pulls for maybe a future project, clearing out the clothing items and pulling those drawers out. And here is the paint. Okay, this is Watermelon Punch by Behr. And we are definitely applying this with a paint roller since the surface is extremely smooth. And I'm just taking my time doing this because I always say, do you want it done or do you want it done right? Ain't no shortcuts with painting furniture. You have got to lean into all the detailed work that is required. I ended up painting 2 coats and calling it a night. Here we are the next morning, moving into good old day 5. Today is the day to examine the chest to make sure that we didn't miss any spots. I did have the fan blowing on this thing all night, so I'm hoping I got it all covered. The color turned out really pretty, so I'm really happy about that. I'm just returning all of the drawers to their rightful place, and then I'm going to install this hardware. I went with these really pretty brass drawer pulls that I got off Amazon, and I love them so much so that I'm like, this is our theme, okay? So I also got brass hardware for her curtain scenario, which I'll show you later. Keep watching. And I'm keeping the same theme, by the way, for the Tarva 3-drawer chests because these are the drawer pulls that came with it. Okay, welcome to day 6, where we push all the furniture to the middle of the room and cover it with plastic. Because today is wall prep day in preparation for painting, of course. We're going to be removing all of the outlet covers, which are really simple to do, and then we're going to be identifying all of the damage and holes in the walls from previous mountings, and then I'm going to be addressing this little outlet hole here. This, if you guys remember, is where that 1995 phone jack was, so I'm going to do a trick that my dad taught me. It's called a California patch, where you take a piece of drywall, remove the pieces along the side by scoring it with an X-Acto knife or box cutter and then popping those pieces off to make wings. I'm going to clean it up with some scissors and push it into that opening. For this, I'm going to be using something very familiar, and that's my DAP Drydex spackle because it goes on pink, lets you know when it's dry, and it's just easy to handle. With my makeshift California patch propped up there with those wings, I'm able to really slather on that mud and get it on there nice and thick and sturdy, and this should last. This should be pretty good. I'll probably come back a couple hours later to sand everything because I just really want to see this project complete. But as you can see, there were lots of little patchwork projects all over the walls. I'm going to keep these holes there though because that's the mounting for the bookcases and they're going right back there. But yeah, we're done for the day. In day 7, we paint. And I started off my morning by touching up the trim. Basically, I painted it because I figured we're putting in, you know, brand new crown molding and it's going to have a fresh coat of paint on it. I want the floor trim to match. I also painted the window and closet trim just for good measure. Here I'm just doing a paint technique called cutting in, I think, where you just basically freehand a border of where the current color meets a different color, realizing I don't really have to do that since I'm putting up trim. So I stopped. But let me just tell y'all, this first coat of paint almost took me out. Like, I did the first full coat and then I went to my husband and I said, I'm done. I said, get somebody on the phone right now because I'm not doing this. We're gonna have to hire somebody. And my husband got right on the phone after he laughed hysterically, and I could hear the guy giving him an estimate of when they could be here. It was like 2 and 3 weeks out, and I was like, you know what, no, I'm gonna just do it. So I finished it. But yeah, I have a newfound respect for painters. Now I see why they charge thousands of dollars. This is hard work, you guys, and that white wall took 5 coats of paint. I did not realize how dark that taupe color actually was, and it needed to be covered fully because what I'm not gonna do is half-ass it. But I just wanted to be honest and let you guys know that I thought about quitting. I actually did quit, right? I quit. The only reason I kept going is because I didn't want to wait 3 weeks. It actually did take me a couple days to complete the full room, which I didn't count. So we'll just call this the 8th day, where I took to the garage for some craft projects. So I spray painted white this wooden rainbow that I got from Target. It was this kind of raw wood. So I had this really cool idea that I would take some of the paint colors from some of the furniture colors. As you can see here, I'm using the exact paint that I used for the furniture, and I'm just painting it on here just to tie everything in. And then some of the artwork from Anne's old room setup, we're just gonna spray the frames black so that we don't have to buy new ones. All right, on day 9, we paint a friggin' mural. This was the day I had been waiting for. I'm so excited about it, although I'm nervous and scared and have never done this before. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know one thing, we gonna get it done. So I got my frog tape here, and I'm just taping off my beautifully, freshly painted floorboards so we don't screw them up. And I'm gonna caulk them up later because it does need it. But yeah, frog tape over painter's tape any day because there is no paint bleed and it protects your surfaces. We are going into this with a screenshot of that inspo and a pencil. So nervous, but let's see. I figured if I screwed up, I could always just leave the wall white and hire somebody to come and paint a mural. But I was so sure I could do this, and this was such a special project for me. I really wanted to get it done. It's so funny, I just kept telling myself, like, you know how to draw, right? Like, I used to do architectural drafting in high school, so I'm like, if anyone can do this, I can. So I just started sketching, like, you know, let's just do this, freehand, go. I can always erase it if I don't like it. And honestly, hun, with every square foot of drawing, my confidence was going more and more up because I'm like, I am doing it. And as confident as I was, the more I drew, I was like, when I stand back, this is gonna look a mess, but it never did. And I did make some mistakes, and this eraser did a really good job at getting it all off the wall. So let's talk about paint tools. I decided to use this craft sponge in collaboration with this professional paintbrush. And there is a density difference in a residential angled paintbrush and one that you use to paint a canvas. Less density, more control. Got that paintbrush from Hobby Lobby, and here's the black paint that I'm going to be using. It's a Behr Dynasty color. It's called Carbon, and it's the sample portion, so it's only 7 ounces, and it was the perfect amount. For something like this, you do not need a gallon, you do not need a quart. Just get the sample, sis. It's really cheap. So here is the dealio. You want to carefully trace over your pencil lines, centering that pencil line in your sponge for the first coat. The sponge was key because it's going to help standardize your line width. At least that was the plan. You're then going to go in with your professional brush and clean it up. Now here's the thing, y'all. I was in that corner trying to not interfere with my pinkish paint color, which is called Patience, by the way. It's also another Behr paint. So I was obviously struggling unnecessarily. I went and grabbed my frog tape and problem solved. This allowed me to confidently fill my brush up with paint, which is what you need for this, so I can get all the way into that corner and that seam and really tighten it up. When you go in with that professional brush on top of the sponge application, you're really giving it that second coat that it really needs for that opaque finish. I think if you tried to go over this line design with the sponge a second time, you would just get a lot of brush lines, right? Like a lot of areas where it looks a little sparse. And for this look, that is not what we want. We want this to look like wallpaper. We want it to look like a finished print. I think the way to really master this is to resist the urge to let your brush run out of paint. I know it's kind of like a natural, you know, reaction to let the brush run out of paint, but you got to keep it loaded up because otherwise you'll just get a bunch of brush strokes. Look how clean this design is coming together, right? And I'm using the frog tape for all of the areas where the lines meet that other, you know, pink wall. All in all, you guys, this took me about 2 hours from start to finish, and it was the most fun I've probably ever had doing a home improvement project. So much so that I went on to complete a mural at my sister's house. She wanted me to help her do a wall in her office. So I really love this, and I'm kind of a mural girl now. You know, I got my practicing, got my confidence up. This is a lot of fun. Okay, and so why this design, right? You might be wondering. So my daughter is really into art that resembles movement, and you'll notice later when you see her rug that I chose, it also is something that looks like it's moving. This reminds me of lava lamp fluid, and Anne just lays there and stares at this for hours on end, so it's perfect for her. Couple more tips, right? I was telling you guys to not let your brush run out of paint, and while that is true, here are some tips that you need to know when you do that. When your brush is full of paint, you run into danger for like dripping and splatters, right? You definitely want to avoid that. One splatter will ruin the entire mural. I cannot believe I painted this full wall with not one mistake. I can't even believe it. But you have to be extremely careful. You have to really humble yourself to the process. You have to understand that an accident can happen at any turn. You have to be super aware of where your brush is at all times, where your feet are, where your legs are, where your arms are. You know, it's stressful, but it's fun, and it'll be worth it in the end. Today is day 10, and we're doing a lot of finishing touches and crown molding. Here you see me popping those IKEA spice racks back up. We're using these as bookshelves, of course. It's obviously the same setup as before. before, but we're definitely gonna style it differently. And my dad and my favorite cousin Brandon came over to help me put the crown molding up. They did a great job. I love them so much. They always help me do the really difficult, you know, home improvement projects, and this was assembled beautifully. While they were doing that, I'm like, let me handle this vent cover. So all I did was spray paint it brown, y'all, and it made such a big difference. All right, we're at day 11, and I'm like, what is life at this point? Like, I've been in this room for like 2 weeks fooling around. I got my banked curtains from IKEA. Y'all, these have turned out to be a highly recommended solution for curtains for your child's room, and here's why. But first, this is my Behr hardware set. It's brass and it's beautiful. All this stuff was super affordable, and I'm really pleased with the results. So here's how I did it, right? I used my drywall anchors that I always use to get the curtain rod up there. Such an easy installation, maybe 10 minutes. I love how these brackets have covers on them so you can't see the screws. Nice. I was also able to purchase these brass rings with the clasps. You guys, this was such a nice touch. This really finished it off nicely. The really cool thing about the rings from a functionality perspective is that on the innermost part of the ring, it's coated in this like really smooth plastic, which helps it to glide across the curtain rod. Trust me, you guys, this is a really nice feature. So I went ahead and propped the curtains up, knowing I would have to take them down, but I just wanted to see what I was working with, to see how much, you know, excess curtain was at the bottom. And these are laminated curtains, y'all, so it has the texture of like a shower curtain. It has many different ways you can mount it. I chose to go with the rings with the clasps, but you could also do the hooks. You could also put it directly on the curtain rod. It's up to you. Now, I know comparing a curtain to a shower curtain could sound a little unappealing, but trust me, y'all, the ability to wipe these clean, the ability to trim them without having to hem them is perfect for a child's room. In comes my husband trying to help. Girl, he was the perfect assistant. Bless his heart. I was really excited about curtains that don't need hemming once you trim them. So here's how I did it, y'all. I measured the excess fabric and I marked it off with a pencil, and then I laid it out, pinned the fabric, and trimmed it off with a pair of fabric scissors. It was super easy. The best part about these curtains was being able to customize the length without having to pay an expensive seamstress to hem them. These curtains are very wrinkly when you first, you know, prop them up, so I definitely grabbed my steamer. I was nervous at first because I didn't know if the steamer was going to be too hot, but it worked out perfectly, y'all, and I did get this steamer from Amazon. So day 12 was never supposed to happen. I realized when I was trying to decorate that these surfaces were not as sturdy as I had hoped, so I went back to Home Depot and got this polyacrylic crystal clear top coat just to add an extra layer of protection, especially for the very top surfaces of the furniture that I painted. I did not apply this to the bed frame because I haven't had any issues with it thus far, but the dressers, you know, when you're putting decor items up there, she's playing with her blocks or whatever, it could get scraped up pretty good. And I was especially worried about the dresser, not so much the 3-drawer chests because those were raw wood and absorbed, you know, most of the paint, but definitely the IKEA dresser that was already kind of finished. This turned out to be a simple but necessary step. All right, that's pretty much it for the big stuff. Now let's get into the moment you've all been waiting for, the final makeover reveal. Guys are peeping the before and after. What do you think? Listen, I am so excited by how this refurbished dresser turned out. We literally took this broke IKEA Hems dresser, threw in some cheap plywood, painted, added some brass handles, and it's a whole new look. For the top of the dresser, I wanted to keep it really simple. I got some of her play blocks, and then we got this little figurine from at home. I put some little felt feet underneath so it wouldn't scratch the dresser too bad. We added some books and a photo of Anne because I am all about self-awareness with her. I want her to know who she is, so we were sure to add a few photos of her, but I think this sort of TV wall turned out really nice. And then there's this little book nook over here where she can kind of sit and admire her, heirloom dolls and things. And as you guys can see before, it was really not a whole lot going on in this corner. I did add some more IKEA shelving with some decor, no books this time, and this bobblehead custom doll that is supposed to be Anne. I got it from a website called myddoor.com. Anne loves string instruments, so I added this little banjo. Do not underestimate underestimate the power of family photos and your child's toys for decor. And look how far we came with this window. It was really drab and the curtains were too short, so we went ahead and added brass curtain hardware and these beautiful bang-to curtains from IKEA that touch the floor perfectly, and I was able to cut them and I didn't have to hem them. And these 3-drawer Tarva chests that I was able to personalize by giving it a fresh coat of paint and adding my own drawer hardware. For art, we went colorful. I went with something that Anne loves, which are eyes and colored puzzle pieces, something that really brings out the mural. So this painting is actually something that my sister Michi made years ago. It was perfect for this space. And then this artistic interpretation of Misty Copeland. Admittedly, my rug options were limited because I needed to be able to wash it, but this one from Ruggable was so perfect. And let's take a minute to appreciate this little spice rack bookshelf, okay? I kept it pretty much the same, but I added less books and a little bit more decor, and I think it's a lot more fun now, and also Anne is not as tempted to destroy it. I found some other creative ways to store books so that they don't all have to go on the spice racks, and I really love what we've done with these 3-drawer chests. She's got her sound machine and her little Target pillow fort nightlight and lamp, bookends from the Dollar Tree, and just look at those clean lines. It's clean, honey. And last but certainly not least, we gotta appreciate this crown molding, hun. This was the icing on the cake. This is what made the room darling. This is what finished the mural appropriately. I just absolutely love what the crown molding did for this room. And again, the paint color is called Patience, and it's just crazy that we got exactly what we were looking for in my vision. Like, I can't even believe I was able to do this. And here I'm just showing her closet for good measure. We did not paint the inside of her closet, so it is the same old paint color, but honestly, it looks fine. And you know we're not done until I show y'all Anne enjoying her new space. So here she is chilling on her bed after school, watching some YouTube Kids and following along with her little books. Y'all, she is loving this, okay? Let me just say, there are a lot of drawers that are empty, and I love that for us because then we can grow into the space. And let me just say, honey, Anne has a playroom right across the hall, and what she does is she will come in here, grab all her favorite toys, and take them right into her newly made over bedroom. I really put my heart into this project, and my daughter loves it. So that's it for today's housework video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. I had so much fun doing this project, and I can't wait to tackle the next room in my house. So I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in my next one. Hey, listen, I'll see you next Sunday, okay? Mwah. Bye.